I'm sure many of you are like me and are thinking, I wonder what the connection is between St. James the Greater and our Blessed Mother. You know, as we celebrate our patronal feast of St. James, I'm sure that's what you're all wondering, right? Well, I'm glad you're wondering, because I found out that after Pentecost, the 12 apostles dispersed to preach the gospel all over the world. And St. James the Greater, on one of his apostolic journeys, preached in what is modern-day Spain, the Iberian Peninsula. St. James was very discouraged, though, that the pagans of that land were not responding to the gospel and converting to Christianity. He had only a handful of converts to show for his labors. Well, in the face of what he thought was failure in his mission, he prayed with his disciples by the Ebro River in modern-day Saragossa. Our Lady, who was still alive, living in Jerusalem, appeared to him and his disciples on the top of a pillar of jasper stone carried by angels. And while holding herself a smaller wooden statue with the Christ child in that statue, herself holding the Christ child. Well, the date was October 12th in the year 40 AD. Now, Our Lady had previously promised St. James that she would come to his aid when he needed it the most. And there she was, bilocating. She was living in Jerusalem, but she appeared to him in Spain. In fact, it was she who sent St. James into the region of the Roman Empire of Spain to tell the people of Hispania about her son, Jesus Christ. And then, in his most desolate hour, when he was considering leaving his mission field, she came to his rescue. The Mother of God told St. James, "Don't worry. The people to whom he preached would not only be converted, but they would one day have faith as strong as the pillar on which she stood." And so she gave the pillar and the statue that she was holding to St. James. And she asked him to build a church on that spot in her honor, using those two items as the altar. She said, "This place is to be my house, and this image and column shall be the title and altar of the temple that you shall build. And the people of this land will honor greatly my son Jesus." And after asking for her church to be built, she gave another promise. She said, "It will stand from that moment until the end of time, in order that God may work miracles and wonders through my intercession for all those who place themselves under my patronage." Well, St. James, being obedient, built a small chapel as Our Lady requested by the Ebro River in Saragossa. The first known Marian shrine in all of history. To this day, it's known as Our Lady of the Pillar, or Nuestra Señora del Pilar. St. James and our Blessed Mother were obviously pretty close. Now, I think part of this is because of some of the other connections that they had. Their mother, St. James and St. John, was Salome, a woman who served Jesus with all she had, and ultimately, she was one of the people present at the foot of the cross on Mount Calvary, right next to our Blessed Mother. St. James was from Bethsaida, and was the son of Zebedee, and of course the brother of St. John, the apostle, the evangelist, as we heard in the gospel. St. James and St. John were two of the three disciples that were witnesses to all the significant events in Jesus' life: the transfiguration, the agony in the garden, the raising of Lazarus, all of those things, all those important events. St. James and St. John were named the sons of thunder by Jesus because of their impetuous zeal. Now, it could be that they got that impetuous zeal from their mother, Salome. As we just heard in the gospel, when she speaks to Jesus, listen to what she says. She says, "Command that these two sons of mine sit, one at your right and the other at your left, in your kingdom." Now there's a woman with some gumption. Jesus then turns to these two brothers and asks them if they can share the same fate with him. He offers them his cup. Well, to offer another one's chalice to drink from was considered a great sign of friendship at the time of Jesus. They immediately respond, "We can." So Jesus accepts the generous response of the two disciples, and he tells them, "Yes, you will drink from my cup. You will participate in my sufferings, and you will complete my passion in your own bodies." So ever since Christ redeemed us on the cross, all Christian suffering consists in drinking from the cup of the Lord through participation in his passion, death, and resurrection. By means of our suffering, we complete, in a certain way, his passion. Human suffering becomes redemptive when it is closely associated with the humiliation the Lord endured. So in his mercy, he lets us share his cup. In the face of difficulties, sickness, or pain, Jesus puts the same question to us: can you drink from my cup? Now, if we are united with him, we will respond positively and bear what is humanly disagreeable for his sake. In union with Christ, even our pain and our failure are converted into joy and peace. Now, I also think that it is very telling that the two brothers, St. James and St. John, when they answered Jesus that question about, "Can you drink this cup?" they said, "We can," not "I can." So you see, that reminds us that we need to remember that we are united with Christ when we are willing to suffer for him. But it also reminds us that we need to rely on each other when we have to suffer for the gospel. We need to work together for his glory. We need to be cooperators with Christ and with each other in the work for Jesus. There is strength in numbers. And we can do a lot more when we work in pairs. When we work together in pairs, we are less likely to try to take charge, but rather, we will be more likely to strive to serve God and each other. And that's when we complete what Jesus said at the last part of the gospel. "Whoever wishes to be great among you shall be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you shall be your slave." So this is why St. James lived his life, and his great zeal for souls led him to do great things for Christ, not alone, but with Christ and with others. In the end, St. James visited Ephesus, where our Blessed Mother was living with St. John, his brother. And when he went there, Mary predicted his coming death, consoling and comforting him greatly. Then he said farewell to Our Lady and to his brother, St. John, and he left for Jerusalem. Well, in that city, he was taken by the Jews, and he was brought to Mount Calvary. Along the way, he continued to preach, he continued to convert, he continued to cure many souls. Then he was beheaded, being the first apostle to be the martyr for Jesus Christ. Sometime later, his body was brought to Spain. St. James, pray for us.